Swasti Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Saishwaraya Vidmahi Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tannah Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sahna Vavatu Sahno Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Asato ma Sagamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha Sarve santu niramayaha Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukh bhagabhave. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Sai Ram. Good evening and welcome to day 30 of the Atma Chalisa Parayanam. It's like saying, yay, we've done 30 days. And so good to see all of you. So yesterday we spoke about that we should say yes to life, and all that life has to offer to us, we should be ready with it enthusiastically, because happiness is our nature and we are always seeking. From the time when we are born, we are constantly seeking only happiness, and who we are is what we attract in our life. And therefore, whenever we are unhappy, we look for ways of trying to get out of it. And that's why being unhappy really bothers us. And that is why we remember those unhappy moments in our life, because they remain with us, because they stand out for us. And it's not in our nature to be unhappy. And that's the reason when we are in our consciousness, when we are with ourselves, we feel this sense of deep peace, contentment, and bliss, because this is who we are. Right? And once we enter that zone where we are always connected with ourselves, we always feel at home, we always get that experience. So the ultimate experience for us to know that we have reached the stage of self-realization is when we experience, this equanimity, this sthit prajna, where no matter what happens outside of us, because remember, we have spoken, outside something will keep happening. Some situation, event or something will keep happening. That is the nature of this. This is the nature of this samsara, that it will keep throwing things. But if you are in that state where you are saying yes to life, and when you are joyous, you are looking forward to everything, and you are saying, okay, I know that a challenge has come, there is a solution right next to it. I have to accept. I don't have to keep fighting anything. I just have to figure out how skillfully, how I can do this most perfectly. And as we start approaching our life with this attitude, our perception towards everything changes, and slowly, as we get more and more skilled at it, the reactions go away and we start becoming more and more perfect in what we do. So the place to practice perfection in this universe is an imperfect world. See, if it was already perfect, then how would we, get to practice perfection, right? The reason there is duality is because the duality gives birth to oneness. Because everything is dual, then only you can find out the oneness. Had everything been one, you wouldn't have known anything. So now I hope at the end of 30 days, you are understanding all the things that we have spoken about in the early days, all the laws that I spoke to you about, the law of contradictory forces or the law of opposing forces. Contradiction is part of this creation. Day and night are essential. Good and bad are essential. But ultimately, we reach a point where we transcend good and bad. Good and bad is also a creation of the mind. And that's why we say that this whole creation is nothing but an illusion. So how it is, as we keep moving up, we start understanding what it really means. Otherwise, these are just words. And as long as we keep intellectually trying to understand, we will get lost. Because the mind cannot perceive that there can be contradiction and, you can go beyond. You will say how there is good and how there is bad. I remember in the initial days, one gentleman asked a question in this group about, what happened during Mahabharata, during the Draupadi Haran. We were trying to discuss about the good and bad in that, right? At that level, at an academic level, we will never understand anything because we will take sides. But once we experience life, and once we experience consciousness, and once we are able to ourselves go beyond all this, is then you will have answer to every question of yours, because these questions come from the mind. A mind is a spiritual shopper. Mind does not want to do any hard work. Mind wants to analyze everything without even knowing, how to experience it. So therefore, we said for a while we'll shut the mind, but we will take it back at the right time. And during this time, we will use to get the experience, the anubhav, prataksha praman, swaya anubhav. And once that starts to come, there is nobody who needs to explain anything to you, because it can't be explained. Our experience is our experience. Somebody can rob anything from us. He can take or she can take away all the material things that belong to us, but nobody can rob from us our own self, our own consciousness, our own state of joy. It is what it is. So nobody can take away this experience. So that's why it is only in Sanatana Dharma, it is only in our culture where we talk about experience. Because every other place, the religions force you to accept things without experiencing it. Our saints and sages actually got things experientially first, and then they passed it on to us. So that's the difference between. So there has never been any force applied on anyone. For some time, we've been told that have faith. Faith was the only thing that the masters asked us to do, because we need, as we said, faith on someone who's been on this journey before us and can be our guide. And therefore, we need for some time a faith on a person outside of us, because that person is going to get us the experience. And once the experience comes, then it's undeniable. Then it cannot be changed. It cannot be taken away. It cannot be scammed. It cannot be artificial. It is something that we know for ourselves, and that is where we know that this is the real truth of ourselves. We leave the the stake of faith after we have directly experienced it. And so we move beyond faith into the stage of knowingness. And ultimately, we will come to it at the end of the program, where we all will experience beingness. That is the last stage. We are already getting into the knowing, because we are experiencing things. But there is a stage beyond that where you are just in the state of being, where all this duality, all these laws that we spoke about become inoperable. They just do not operate any longer. They are there, but you go beyond them, right? So today, what I thought of doing was that we will talk about, therefore, if we are saying yes to life and we are in the state of being happy, then what is it and how is it that we must perform our action? This is the central essence of Bhagavad Gita as well. And Bhagavad Gita tells us how to perform our action, where it says, Karmanyavadika raste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalhe turgu ma te sargasva akarmani, meaning to say that Krishna tells Arjuna that, "Oh Arjuna, please perform all your actions by dedicating the action to me, and you do your action not for expecting any result of that action, and leave the part of giving the results to me." So which means, simply saying, we say we should at all times give our best, our most honest and best effort without expecting any result thereof. In other words, we do everything because we must do it, because that is what our self, or that is what we feel from within compelled to do. We do things because this is who we are. We do things which are coming from our sense of propriety, and we do it not because we are seeking any gain, any benefit, or any result whatsoever. We do it because we must do it. That is the only thing that we have to do, is to do that action, and do it in the way we are being prompted from within, and not getting swayed by the result or what impact it might have. We spoke about in an earlier session that how we start changing our action because of what we perceive might be the impact. And therefore, in trying to please others, we end up sometimes doing things which are not what we intended to do. And that is where the knots of karma start to hold us down. And if we can learn this art of always doing everything which is coming from our sense of righteousness, and if we perform that action without looking for any result, then such actions become non-binding. Such actions make the law of karma inoperable. And therefore, such actions never, hold us. We are not held to the effects of these actions in the future. That part we must appreciate, and we must understand deeply that when we do such actions, then we are actually surrendering the actions to the universal consciousness, who we call as God, who we call as Krishna. When we say surrender it at the lotus feet of Krishna, there are actually no feet of Krishna, because Krishna does not have a body. When we say surrender it to the lotus feet of the Lord, we are saying surrender it to the consciousness. Do it for the sake of doing it, and not for any gain, benefit, impact. And once we get into the habit of performing actions like that, then there is the inner sense which takes over, and you will know in every situation, you will instantly know what you need to do without any doubts. Because when we do things with the mind, when we do it for somebody, we do it for some result. When we do it for some particular gain, or when we are trying to harm somebody, if we are doing, or if we are reacting from our mind, then we will always end up doing things which further and further bind us down in this game of life. And that's what we have come here to learn. And we've learned how to free ourselves, how to get away from these clutches of our karmic account that we are holding on. The prarabdha karma, as we spoke, whatever karma we've done in the previous lifetimes, for which the scene has been already laid for us in this lifetime, we will have to go through it. Okay? But the future life, the life comes, a future birth comes because of the mind. Because the mind has still attachments, desires, it still has holding on to, its judgments, opinions, and all that. And the mind, comes back. And mind is the cause for us to take birth again. So once we start doing actions which are without expectation of result, A, the karma is non-binding. B, when we go beyond the mind and always are focused on our consciousness, the mind in any case becomes inoperable. And if we can live that life, then there is no coming back, because the mind is no longer there. Because mind was never there. You understand? Mind was always and is an illusion. It is some things It's a collection of these thoughts and desires that we keep holding on to. And that is why this exercise that we have been doing of clearing all the baggage we have been carrying through the Trikuti is very powerful, because it helps you to take out all your samskaras, right? And I will, tell you that you must much more effort than probably what you have in clearing that, because a lot of times we think, thoughts are not coming and it's done. But actually, you need to spend a lot of time with yourself to be able to clear this. And as you sit, more and more keep coming. Because remember, you're not clearing of this lifetime, you're clearing past lifetimes as well. So it's a very powerful technique to clear your subconscious, which means really like having a new birth. And then you have to deal with only this lifetime. So now we know, the techniques of how to act without getting bound by the results of that. When you surrender the action to the consciousness, you do it for the sake of that you must do it. You do it from your sense of righteousness, from your sense of dharma. And once you start doing it, then you are living your truth. Remember, you go back to the initial, we said the first thing when we started after setting the stage, we talked about Trikaran Shuddhi. When we are able to say what we think, and what we think is what we say, and what we say is what we do, right? Not in the sense what Swami Rama said in the video, that we are, thinking ill about people, and if we say it, then, they're going to bash us up. But once our thoughts have got purified, then we can definitely speak our mind out, and then that is how we will live our lives. And therefore, everything that has bound us so far just starts to go away from us, and we start becoming, as we are already experiencing ourselves to be much more lighter than before. We start becoming lighter and lighter, and slowly this thing entirely goes away, and we operate always at all times from our consciousness, and that is a very beautiful feeling, and it's an experience which keeps coming to us as we go fearlessly, because spirituality is nothing but fearlessness. This fearlessness comes from where? Because you have nothing to hide any longer. You are fearful till you are hiding something, or you think you're doing something wrong, right? Or somebody is going to say something to you. But when your thoughts, word, and action have got aligned, and when you are operating from the center of your heart, and you are offering all your actions based on that righteousness, there is no question of fear. That's how fearlessness will come, because you become a pure being. And that is when, this is what is the basis of spirituality. So this understanding of how to perform action, any action, if you keep even, you can start examining it to all the actions you perform during the day. Whether you are doing your yoga, whether you are doing, you're cleaning, you're cooking, you're going out shopping, you're meeting people, you're doing work. If we can start doing things without any expectation, either from yourself also any expectation, or from anybody, not looking for any recognition, not looking for anything that, and slowly this shift happens in us. You're doing it for the sake of doing it. You're not saying, I have taken up a project and I'm not able to do it. Am I doing justice to it? This is all the mind kicking in. A project is given to you. You are giving it your best shot during the day. What results come out of it is not your consequence. You just keep doing. If there is an error that you are making in what you're doing, you keep correcting it. But that's all. Keep doing. And the results what has to come will certainly come to us. So again, what goes wrong is the expectation. Even for result, there is an expectation. And that is what is the attachment to the result. So in a way, it's also an attachment. We are attached that we are doing something, we must get a result of it. And that attachment, we need to disconnect, we need to move away from, and you will automatically see results will come, because, as we know that every action has a reaction, so something will come out of it. But you're not expecting it. You're not working for it. You're doing it. So it becomes like a sadhana. It becomes like a parayanam. It becomes like a penance. It is what does. This is the best way to do chitta shuddhi, clearance of your chitta. That, you come from your authentic space where you are able to align your thought, words, and action. And that cannot happen unless you have surrendered to the higher consciousness. And that fearlessness makes you go everywhere. And that really is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. This is what Krishna tried to tell to Arjuna. And this is exactly what, if we can practice this in our lives, and it is just getting so beautifully connected from all that we have done so far, and it becomes a habit, it becomes a practice, and suddenly there is no thought. A lot of times we get disturbed or we get confused. What should I do? Okay, whenever a confusion happens, always remind yourself that you are thinking from your mind. It's a mind which creates alternatives. It's a mind which confuses you. But if you ask your heart, if you ask your consciousness, you will exactly know what to do. The mind will come and say, no, but if I do this, this will happen. If I do this, this will happen. And that is where everything starts to go wrong, right? If you start operating from that heart space, it comes from the truth of your being. You'll never be misguided. You may think, your mind may think that there may be some adverse consequences of your doing something, but that's not true. You try it. It starts to happen. People may react differently because people are not used to, to receiving things coming from the center of that truth. But it's okay. That's their challenge. They will soon learn, and they may surprise them initially, but they will soon start respecting you for it. Because they will realize that from here we get only the truth, and that power of your words, starts interacting with people, and it leaves an impact with people, and things start to shift. As we've said, there is something in these words that then gets translated into an energy, and that energy starts to interact with people, and that makes people change and make people shift. So it's an essential part of what we need to do, and where do we come from, and how do we start practicing this. Start with examining every action of yours from this light, and I'm sure with this practice we start to find that balance. We understand how it operates. Everything, you see, we are doing an inner tuning. We are creating an inner balance, and once that inner balance starts to come, we know exactly what it is about, because the language of the self is understood very clearly by the self. So that is what I wanted to share with all of you today. We've completed 30 days, and now we move into connecting all the dots of our lives, and hopefully in the next 10 days we will experience this whole understanding in totality. We've tried to bring the full understanding of the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita in something that connects to us and to our lives. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you. Samast loka sukhino bhavantu. Samast loka sukhino bhavantu. Samast loka sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.